The Love Life Now Foundation recently hosted its 7th annual White Ribbon Night Gala, an event patterned after the nationwide White Ribbon campaign, which asks men to take the pledge never to condone domestic violence against women and children. The event raised money to help support the domestic violence programs at Respond, Inc., a pioneer in the movement to end domestic violence, and New England's first domestic violence prevention agency and second in the nation. Here to talk about the awareness event is founder of Love Life Now, Lovern Gordon, and the night's White Ribbon Night Ambassador awardee, Plymouth District Attorney Timothy Cruz. Welcome to Urban Update. Thank you both for coming in. Lovern, let me start with you. The annual 7th White Ribbon Night Gala. Tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So the White Ribbon Night Gala initially started out, as you mentioned, 7 years ago as a community day and transitioned to the White Ribbon Night Gala the following year. Since then, we have asked men in our communities to step up and come out and learn more about the ways that they can be part of the solution in ending violence against women.
And for those who don't know, just talk to me a little bit more about the White Ribbon campaign itself and the pledge that's taken by men.
Absolutely. So the White Ribbon campaign here in Massachusetts is headed up by Jane Doe, Inc., and which is the coalition here in Massachusetts that oversees all the domestic violence agencies in Massachusetts. And so the White Ribbon campaign, again, a nationwide one that asks more men to speak out on this issue. Too often you hear women speaking out on this, about this cause, but when a man is talking to another man, unfortunately 90% of the time, they are looked upon as the problem. And so when a man is talking to another man about this issue, it resonates that much more when they speak about it to each other, rather than women talking to and at them.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we talk to our honoree here, we're going to show a little video, which really sort of shows us what this pledge is all about.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's take a look.
From this day forward,
I promise to be part of the solution
in ending violence against women.
À propos de violence, garçon contre fille.
I promise to never commit, condone, or remain silent.
Et tout genre de violence.
Tenta denunciar esse tipo de atitude e comportamento
that contributes to sexual assault and domestic violence.
Too often you hear women leading the charge against domestic violence. Men must know their voices are needed on the issue. Take the White Ribbon Day pledge. Share a ribbon with another male, young or old, and explain the significance. Never excuse, commit, or stay silent about abuse. Become part of the solution.
I will follow your lead.
Okay, well, Timothy Cruz, this year's White Ribbon Night Ambassador awardee. I saw you in that video there,
right.
Taking the pledge. Well, first of all, just tell me just about just your thoughts and feelings about getting this honor.
Well, it really is a great honor, and I really thank Lovern and the foundation for that honor. But just as importantly, it's important to get the word out, as Lovern said, about domestic violence and having people understand that men are willing to stand up and fight and combat this terrible problem that we're dealing with.
What is it about this pledge and the whole concept around having men reimagine their manhood? Like, why do you think it's important for men to, assert themselves in this issue?
I think that there's a terrible stigma with domestic violence, and I think we need to remove that. And the best way to remove that is really to have the men who are going to be standing up for their spouses, for their girlfriends, for the women in their lives, their moms, their aunts. We need to make sure that people understand we're talking about it, and the power that you get from communication is so important. And I think talking about it through the foundation, the various groups, helps remove that stigma and helps women come forward to protect themselves and their children.
Lovern, why did you want to give District Attorney Tim Cruz this honor?
Well, we have watched the DA's office really support women and victims and survivors as a whole as it relates to this issue over these past 7 years, really. And the support services that they provide to victims and survivors is a huge deal. It's oftentimes when you leave an abusive situation, it's the most dangerous time. And beyond that is getting to that safe zone Well, going to court is part of that. And the DA's office has really stepped up and done some really incredible work in that area. And beyond, just helping, victims get safe, what happens after that? Support services that aid folks beyond getting safe. How do you get back on track beyond, your court date or, facing your abuser in court? And we just really commend that. And the fact that he's headed those support efforts really stood out to us.
District Attorney Tim Cruz, how much of your office, how much time and resources are taken up with domestic violence? I mean, obviously you're criminal prosecutor, but what about domestic violence? How big of a part of it is that?
Well, it certainly is. I mean, at the courtroom level, we have a family protection unit that deals with families and deals with children and deals with the people that are being the victims in these cases. But we also have a lot of preventative programs, whether it be going to school, talking to kids about dating violence, especially to the men, and also getting the young men to get them to sign the pledge and to state the pledge and to stand up and to make sure that they're not going to commit, condone, or remain silent against violence against women. I think it's a great thing. Awareness is so key, and we need to have more preventative aspects to get it out there, and that's why I really, I love working with the foundation.
What are the trends for domestic violence? Is it continuing on? I think we used to hear, 10, 15 years ago, every 22 days or so, a woman was killed by her husband or her boyfriend. Are those trends still there, going up, down, staying the same?
I think that the stigma remains the same. So many times, a lot of women will not come forward, or when they do come forward, they're not really comfortable in proceeding with a case against the person who is paying the bills as a father of their children. Maybe they have other legal issues. They don't want to come forward, so it creates a problem in prosecuting those cases. So to get a real number as pertains to DV cases, very difficult to do.
It's very hard because, people ask, well, why do women stay? Well, the DA just named some of the reasons. I mean, the person that is taking care of them financially, the person that is rearing for the kids, the person that they love, quote unquote, they don't want to leave that. And when they do leave, they're thinking about the unknown. Well, what does that look like? And if I do leave, well, who is going to, supplement all of the things that this person sort of gave to me? So I might as well just stick out the abuse.
Vern, for folks who want to get involved with this, what are some of the ways that they can do so, around the year?
Yeah, I mean, just, first of all, awareness efforts are across the board throughout the state. Love Life Now is just one of those efforts. And so, there are agencies that you can get, volunteer your time, volunteer at a shelter, take a domestic violence awareness course so that you can become educated on the ways that you can speak to someone or help someone should you encounter a domestic violence victim in your workplace, at your home. So volunteering is one that's very heavy for us on our end. Becoming educated, calling the hotline, anonymously to see how that works. If, God forbid, you run into someone that may be a victim, well, kind of leading them down the road of, what calling the hotline looks like. These are so little steps that you can take to become more involved and not just sit back and say, well, it isn't my problem. And unfortunately, domestic violence is everyone's problem.
As a man, Tim, do you feel like you're personally recruiting people to do this, or just bringing the subject up in your personal life away from your professional life?
Well, we certainly bring it up where we go, and I think it's important for every man to stand up for women, because unfortunately we have violence against men, we have violence against children. This is a commitment about violence against women, and I think that we need to understand that it's important for us to protect the women in our lives, and by doing this, I think that helps remove the stigma. Like Lovern just said, domestic violence really has no zip code. It's everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're a rich community, suburban community, rural community, and therefore we all have a responsibility to stand up. The men in my office take the pledge. We go to the schools and take the pledge, and we're hoping that awareness will help foundations like Lovern's get the word out.
Lovern, what's up next for Love Life Now?
What isn't up? So we host what's called a Homeless Brown Bag and Care each quarter, and the idea is to meet the homeless where they're at, to offer them resources that pertain to domestic violence. Just because you're homeless, that doesn't mean you may not get abused. So we go out and we bag up brown bag lunches and toiletries that contain, chapstick, soap, deodorant, just the day-to-day stuff that gets you through. And those are incentives that get the homeless to come and speak to us. We've certainly oftentimes met women that have a big knot on their cheek, and they don't know that they deserve the help, much less that there is help. So that's coming up up next is actually this weekend, and we're looking forward towards our Heelathon that happens every year, where women put on their favorite pair of heels, anybody really, and walk a mile to spread awareness.
All right, okay, we'll have to leave it right there. Lovern Gordon, Love Life Now Foundation, and Cruz, the Plymouth District Attorney. Thank you both for coming in, and congratulations on a really important campaign. Well, coming up, a multicultural new book for children opens the door to the burning question of who we are. All the details right here coming up.